Hey there, it's Skyward Shield. Welcome to a new Football Talks Power Rankings video. It is just me as always, and I have another mic because the other one I was not satisfied with, so I had to send it back and get my money back and buy this new one. This was a Sennheiser, so it should be good. I prefer this brand, and hell, sponsor me, guys. But anyway, let's jump straight into it with Power Rankings. Let's start with Tier 4, teams 25 through 32. And, well, the bottom four has not changed at all. In fact, maybe I could put the Colts above them because of wins, but I don't know. I think I keep the Giants a little higher because the defense is a little better, and they have a quarterback. They don't have Andrew Luck in Indy, so yeah. But there's a team that's just dropped to 29 and may just stay with as part of the bottom five forever at this rate because Arizona has lost Carson Palmer for the year, and man, I think this is the end of the Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald experience, which is a shame. Fitzgerald deserved a much better year to go out upon. I don't think he's coming back this season, but it's just I'm thinking there's just gonna be David Johnson left after all this. I don't know if Bruce Arians is gonna stay. The only bright side, if you want to think about that, if you're a Cardinals fan, the best thing I can tell you is that maybe if you tank enough, you can go for Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, or Lamar Jackson, whatever quarterback is up there, whatever quarterback's expected to go early in the draft. Try to get one of those guys. You may have to trade up a bit for it, but you need a franchise quarterback. This team, out of all the tanking teams right now, minus the Colts, because I am fairly certain they have Andrew Luck. They just need to get a game-changing talent to support them. Primarily on defense, I'd say. Need like a pass rusher at this point. But the 49ers, the Browns, heck, even the Baltimore Ravens and the Giants may have to start considering a quarterback. And the Jets too. Even though they're higher up here, you understand that the Jets are just playing much better than you expect them to. How long that's going to last is up for debate, but out of all these teams that I mentioned, the Cardinals are perhaps the best team you want to play for because at least you have some pieces. You have David Johnson still. You have some good players on defense like Honey Badger and Patrick Peterson. You have those players. You may still have Adrian Peterson. I don't know. He's still going to have to be the workhorse for now because they're still playing to win, but you just don't expect that much out of them. But anyway, so expect the Cardinals there. And really, the Packers are now in Tier 4 because, like I said, they didn't put up a good enough performance against the Saints. While you're at home, it's just Brent Hundley is not doing well so far. He may get better as time goes on, but I don't know. It's not going to get easier for them because you still got to play the Steelers. You got to play Detroit twice. You still have to play Minnesota. Granted, you host them this time, and you got to go to play the Bears, which the Bears are frisky. So on that note, let's transfer over to Tier 3, teams 17 through 24. And starting with the Bears are on the rise. I'm not entirely sold on the hype. I mean, the Panthers are so inconsistent. I mean, 1 minute you saw them at the top 3, and now they're already at 12. Another loss, and they could very much be on the edge of Tier 2 to maybe Tier 3, depending on how the week shapes out. But the Bears are looking frisky. Remember, I said even the Bears, back when Aaron Rodgers went down, even the Bears have a shot at the division. Hell, they may have a shot at the wild card because even if you could just beat Green Bay at home at Soldier Field, that helps your odds of getting in on in a wild card spot. And the other reason why is because the offense does not look impressive. Trubisky, at first people think he's good, but as I look into more about him, I've seen a few more mistakes than I have success. He is playing as you expect more of a rookie, unlike, say, Deshaun Watson or last year's Dak Prescott, who overperformed and are doing great right now. Or should I say, Dak is doing great right now. Deshaun's still playing great, although he has a big test this week, but that'll be talked about much more later in the show. Anyway, so next up on this list, the Raiders are perhaps a big team on the rise right now for me. I'm not, how do I put it? I'm glad they beat the Chiefs, but let's be real, the Chiefs were in a bit of a bind this week because, like I said, injuries were going to haunt them sooner or later. This was a game they could not lose, and they did. I mean, and that's why when we get to the tier 1, you're going to notice the Chiefs are no longer number 1. But regardless, that happened, and kudos to the Raiders who lost Marshawn Lynch. They're going to lose him for his homecoming game to Buffalo, but they may not need him. Win there, and you might get out of Tier 3. However, should you lose, you're probably going to stay around there depending on how close you keep it. But nevertheless, good job, Derek Carr. Derek Carr was one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch last year. He still is. That was prime Derek Carr quality at the end of the game there. I'm just so glad that, but to be fair, the Chiefs did not give that, or they were kind of giving that game up, but both teams were at that point. Of course, the Lions were on bye, but they still had to drop because some teams have dropped here a lot. Namely, the biggest culprit is the Falcons. Some would say you're being too harsh on them, Josh, and I totally understand that. But I am just thinking these guys. I've said before these in the preseason that the Falcons are going to miss the playoffs. I still think they are. They could sneak some games, but now they got to go play the Jets, which I picked them to beat the Jets, but I'm not entirely sold on that. I think if you lose to the Jets, that to me signifies, yeah, you are not a playoff contender. Anyway, the Titans, you might be wondering, how did they drop even though they won? How come they dropped? Obviously, there's some reasons, like a couple of teams have risen from the ashes, them being Jacksonville, which how long will that last, and the Chargers, which I want to say how long that will last because they play New England, but we'll see. Anyway, the Titans have dropped just because you barely won against the Browns, a 9-9 game. What's wrong with you? I mean, they have a bye. I think they're on bye this week, which they really need, because if they didn't take care of business that game, you lose to the Browns. You don't deserve anything at that point. You don't even deserve a high draft pick, I'd say, because that's just horrible. You don't want to lose to the Browns. The Browns are the team you don't want to lose. I would say it's better to lose to the 49ers, because to me, at least, the 49ers, save for this week, have been playing much better than usual. Anyway, so let's move on into Tier 2. Tier 2, we have the Cowboys. The Cowboys are back in it. They look like how they would last year. A little bit of bend but don't break defense. They did create, I think they did create a turnover, but a big shout out to Jeff Heath. Now, he's a safety for them, and if I can give like a player of the week overall, he would get it for a very obscure reason. Now, if you didn't see the game, Dan Bailey, the Cowboys' greatest kicker, had sustained a groin injury and had to miss the game. He's probably going to miss time. And so the Cowboys had to use Jeff Heath to do extra point attempts and do kickoffs. He did 3 kickoff returns and went 2 for 3 on PATs. The last player to do that was not a designated kicker or punter was the current Packers GM, Ted Thompson, back when he was with the Oilers in, I think, 1980. He did 4 extra PATs that game, or one game. I forget who they played against, but there's a bit of trivia for you. But the Cowboys minus Dan Bailey looked good. They needed it to look good because this was the 49ers. I thought the 49ers might have actually kept it a little close. I still thought Dallas was going to beat them by like 2 scores, but I did not think it'd be a blowout. And then people say that I know the Chargers, which we're going to talk about in a second, have bad home crowds, but I think the 49ers are the worst because that's a bigger stadium, it looks more empty, and I can't tell if I want to say there were more Cowboys fans, but I'm not saying that it's because the Cowboys fans show up more in San Francisco for the other team. I just think that there's just hardly any San Fran fans, and I don't blame them. This is bizarre for a team to be, to use a term from Urinating Tree, a lolcow, despite winning 5 Super Bowls. Do you know how many teams have at least won 5? I mean, you just saw the other one with the Cowboys, then you have the Patriots, and of course the Steelers, who have 6. You're in that prestigious view, and yet you're just garbage right now. But the Chargers just they need a quarterback. They're like where the Texans were, and I know what you might say, that the Texans are a bum team. Like, they were a bum team even with the quarterback, but they still were able to manage some pretty okay seasons, 9-7. The Chargers, the 49ers, on the other hand, are just 0-7. They are what is the worst case to do if you don't have a quarterback. Because I think Bill O'Brien is a much better QB coach than Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan can run an offense. I just don't think he's a head coach. And I don't think I'm preaching to the choir. I think many people think that. At least I've heard many people that I've talked to say that, and pundits here, I hear them say that. But yeah, let's move on to the Chargers, the other LA team. That it's not as much of a darling team this year, but it's at the very least a lot better to watch. Even though I will say, when I really think about it, the Chargers on offense have been very flip-flop recently. They looked good in the games they've lost, but in the games they've won, the defense has been doing more. I think the Chargers defense is finally coming together. I think this was the missing thing for the Chargers all along. They needed a pass rush, but that's what they drafted Joey Bosa for. They have some cornerback pieces as long as everybody stays healthy, which so far this Chargers team has stayed healthy. I think they're finally hitting a groove, and I don't know if they're going to make a playoff push, but I initially believed they did, but after that start, that was really just, I say, avoidable. I think they could have at least won one of those, so they could be 4-3, and it's like, okay, you're in really good shape. But it's good that they're trying to hit something, but they are in a spot where they still can't make a lot of mistakes. But to be fair, you can probably go 9-7 and squeeze into the playoffs, because I think the AFC is incredibly weak this year, save for the, prestigious few being the Chiefs, Patriots, and the Steelers, which we'll get to them later. Jacksonville's right there, but to be honest, I think according to the Farmer's Almanac, they're going to get blown out by Cincinnati next week, or not this week, but the week after, because they have a bye this week. Texans moved up just because some teams dropped, them being the Panthers, who got dabbed on by the Bears defense because the Bears offense didn't need to do much. I'm not even kidding. The Bears offense had only put up 3 points on its own. The rest, the 14 points came from 2 consecutive pick sixes by a rookie from Chicago, a rookie safety who looks like a stud. Go see how he played. He looked pretty good, which is good for Chicago. And now all of a sudden Chicago doesn't look like a gimme. However, Carolina is in a very exposed position right now. They have to get their shit together, and they might have the team to do it against Tampa Bay. But I personally picked Tampa Bay to beat them this week, so we'll see how that goes. Now then, as for the top 10, the last of the tier 3 or the tier 2 to mention, what is Buffalo. I think if they had lost, I might have actually dropped them a lot. I think I'm going to put them to be just above Jacksonville, but because they won, they're still in the top 10. I don't know if I call them a top 10 team. On defense, if I went on just pure defense, I think I still would, but you gave the Bucks a lot of points. The Bucks are frisky, I would say, at least in terms of winning games, not of course being a playoff team. They don't look like it right now, but the Bills just need to make sure they can just keep holding offenses to lesser points, because sure, the Buffalo Bills offense, when it needs to, it can put up points, but for some reason this defense is feeling a little, I think it's bending and breaking a little bit. But anyway, let's move on to tier 1, teams 1 through 8. The Saints are in tier 1. This is a first for me. Even if I did mental images of power rankings in my head, I never would have had them this high in recent memory. It's good for them. I mean, you beat the Packers. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. But you're 4-2. You are now in the driver's seat because the Panthers are dripping around. Now you just need to take care of business with the frisky Bears team, and you're still in control. Especially if Tampa Bay beats Carolina for you and Atlanta loses to the Jets. All of a sudden, the Saints look like the Saints look like how they've always been in the past, which we'll find out and see if they can keep that going. Of course, making our way up here, Vikings took care of the Ravens, so now they're 7. Rams did a shutout performance. I wanted to put them higher, but I don't know if I think they would be better than the Chiefs, because they're not. This is a situation where I really wish these two teams played this year, but they can't. I don't think they're playing for another 2 years, I want to say. I don't know. But either way, Rams look good. I like them. They're the fun team to watch this year. They're like last year's Raiders. Very fun offense. But unlike the Raiders, this Rams defense has some playmakers, or more than just Khalil Mack for the Raiders. You have Aaron Donald. You have Tremaine Johnson. And Alec Ogletree, and so on and so forth. Really good defense, if you ask me, and I look forward to seeing what more they can bring. I just need to see them do more against playoff contenders, or hell, Super Bowl contenders, which they're going to have that chance with playing the Seahawks again. I believe they have to also play Philly, so that should be fun. And you also got to play Houston later, but we'll see. Of course, the Chiefs are the biggest drop. They've dropped from 1 to 5. Some people might say I'm too harsh, but I need to see them get their crap together. Now, thankfully, they've had a lot of time to rest up. And I'd just say, just win your game, and you're going to be possibly back in the top 3, assuming one of these 3 teams they underperform. But maybe the Seahawks, I might be giving a bit too much. I think they are slightly better than the Chiefs, just for the matter of they're more healthy right now. That's perhaps the reason why the Seahawks have the edge over the Chiefs. But like I said, if the Chiefs put up a well performance and the Seahawks, depending how they do this week, do not as much, even if they win, they may switch spots. As for the top 3, the Patriots defense finally looks good again. They went back to the bend but don't break. They let the Falcons go wherever they wanted on the field, but not in the end zone. Hell, they didn't even let them score. The first field goal they blocked, and the second one it was just a wide shot. The second field goal kick from the Falcons was horrible. That was a chip-in shot, and they missed. Should have been an easy hit. An easy 3, and he couldn't even get that much. That's too bad, Atlanta, and that's why Atlanta's down there. But kudos to the Patriots. The offense is still humming along like nothing happened. They got a run game going that week, so if they keep that up, you have a balanced run game. You might have something similar to what Dallas should do. And speaking of Dallas, on that note, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, the Pittsburgh Steelers are what the Cowboys could have been last year if they had drafted, I say, better defensive players. But now you have a really good defense now that's come together. It doesn't need to play top 10, top 5, lights out, shutout type of defense. You just need to not give up the biggest plays. You need to make a team earn every damn yard. Also get a few turnovers where you can, and you're good, because your offense can hum along with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is reestablishing himself as one of the best running backs in the game right now. And it's for that reason I think I have the Steelers above the Patriots. And the best part, these two will eventually square off in Heinz Field. So whenever that game comes around, you might be seeing either a preview of an AFC title game match or just a playoff game in general. And whoever wins that, it's a big game, because if whoever wins that has a better chance of establishing home field. But we shall see. And of course, the new number 1, it's pretty damn obvious, the 6-1 Philadelphia Eagles. One of my worst nightmares coming into reality, but Carson Wentz is playing like a goddamn MVP. That Houdini shit he pulled off with just escaping a sack, that might have been the play of the game right there. That wasn't a touchdown. If we don't count touchdowns, the play of the game that against Washington was that. And it was like, his performance right now is incredible for a leap from first to second year. Really good. But anyway, now then, let's go over 5 games to note this week that are going to shake up the power rankings most likely. The first game I'm going to throw at you is the Monday night game. The Denver Broncos and the Chiefs. The Denver Broncos are in a really big bind, but if they can pull something out of their ass in the no-fly zone, can stifle the Chiefs offense, which is still, as the things stand now, not at peak performance. All of a sudden the Chiefs could free fall and the Broncos can get back into tier 2. So should the Chiefs win and make it look good, they could easily move back up a bit. I don't know if they'll take the number 1 spot unless the Eagles derp to the freaking 49ers, which I don't see that happening. We'll see how that works out. Your second game I'm going to throw at you is the Sunday night football, so another night game. The Steelers and the Lions. The Lions are, so far, they are 2 games behind the Vikings, even though they have they have the edge over them because they beat them in Minnesota. Now, good news for the Lions, they get to play them again on Thanksgiving at home. But even so, you still need another loss to come their way if you want to take the division crown. But right now, you got to play the Steelers, which, good news for you, the Steelers destroyed Minnesota. But now you're coming off a bye week, and it just came out today that Golden Tate is practicing. I don't think he'll start. I'm not sure if he'll start, but Kenny Golladay looks like he's going to come back. And honestly, for the Lions, it's all hands on deck. I believe Glover Quinn should come back. I think he should get out of concussion protocol by now. Jarrad Davis is still a really good stud in the making. This team needs to pull out all the stops to beat the Steelers. We'll see if they can do that. You do that, you beat the number 2 team in my power rankings. That's a big spike to you. I don't know if you'll get back into the top 10, but you sure will be flirting with it. The next game, my third game, is another AFC West team against, the Super Bowl champions, the Chargers at the Patriots. The Chargers defense is coming in really good. Their special teams has done pretty well, but right now they're going to get a test, a real good test. How can you do against the Patriots in Foxborough? Hopefully there'll be no fog this time, but if the Chargers want to prove they are for real, they need to beat the Patriots. You beat the Patriots, all of a sudden you look like a really good team in the AFC West, which, need I remind you, AFC West, best division in football right now, and the NFC South is not too far off. To give a bit of a nod to that. Anyway, so, should the Patriots win that, they still establish themselves as a top 3 team. Basically, business as usual for New England. This is just another business as usual game that they need to win. And for my fourth game, I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball to you guys. Normally, some people would say, oh, why don't you put another NFC East team, because every one of those matter. Which means you would be thinking, oh, Dallas at Washington. No, I'm not going to give you that one. I'm going to give you one that's actually a little more surprising. A 1 o'clock game. Bears at the Saints. Now you might wonder, Josh, why the hell would you make the Bears a team? I'd understand Detroit because that division's up for grabs. But the Bears? Yes, the Bears are an interesting team. Even if I'm not liking that offense, I'm not sold on everything that isn't the run game, I'm still curious to see how it does against the Saints defense, which is on the rise. I don't think it's an amazing defense, but it does its job. It's reliable. Like I said, your defense, if you want to be in the playoffs, your defense just needs to be reliable. You need to count on it when it matters most. You don't need it. You're not asking it to just play like the 85 Bears, ironically. But if the Bears win this, they're in the race for the division, or at the bare minimum a wild card. Their defense is playing great. I don't question the Bears' defense. I'm a little sold on it. I'll buy into it a little bit. But the Saints now have a test. They're playing a good defense, but they're at home. Drew Brees is still playing great, but I want to know how this Saints defense does against the run game. Can it get tired out? Can the Bears do what teams like Dallas and can it do what Dallas has been doing? Running the football, exhausting the other team's defense, and then exposing it for big plays. Can they do that? We'll find out. Now the last game, this is my bias showing up, but in a way, I'm right. The Texans and the Seahawks. The Texans are the hottest offense that the Seahawks have faced yet. Well, the Legion of Boom is finally getting their act together, and they're playing a lot better. The only problem with the Seahawks is, this is a bit of a trend I've noticed. They have been playing half a game. If you want my best example, that would be the Titans and the Titans hosting the Seahawks. I thought the Seahawks were going to win that one. In fact, if they played a whole game of football, they would have, because the Titans are inconsistent. Everyone was thinking, oh, they're the darling team of the AFC South. I mean, I may have picked them to win, but I thought it was going to be barely, by the skin of their teeth. But the Seahawks need to play a full game of football, because let me tell you, the Texans are not going to let you play a full game, play 30 minutes and win, because of that offense. This Texans offense can move down the field. Sure, I'm not sure if the passing game is going to work on the Seahawks Legion of Boom, but there is another way. I know nobody's been talking about it, but the Texans on the ground have been just as effective, and I'm not talking about Watson. Everyone's like, oh yeah, of course, because Watson's running. No. I don't know if you've noticed, less and less he's had to scramble for yards. That offensive line is actually coming into form. It's not perfect. I still think it's very flawed, but this is a good test. Against Michael Bennett, should be a good test. And Dwayne Brown is back for the Texans. I don't know if he'll start this week. I don't think he should, but he might. And you add someone like him into the mix, this line looks good. But regardless, I think Lamar Miller and Deontay Foreman have been a solid tandem. By all means, not the best tandem in the league, but a really good one nonetheless. If they can beat the Seahawks in terms of rushing the ball effectively, well then, that's gonna help expose the Seahawks defense. I'm not saying the Seahawks defense is bad. I'm just saying that that is to me the X factor this week. One of the two X factors. Can the Seahawks play more than 30 minutes on offense, I should say? The defense is not the problem. And can the Texans run the ball effectively against Seattle? I picked Houston to win, but I think that it's a toss-up. If this was in Houston, I might have said Houston would be the slight favorites, actually, but I think it's a matter of the Seahawks hosted, so they are the slight favorites. But I'm going upset of the week. Anyway, that'll do it for this week, for Week 8. Do you agree or disagree with any of the spots of the teams you like, or maybe you notice that don't belong there? Feel free to put in the comment section below. Just don't be a dick about it. Be at least a little respectful, and yeah. That'll do it for this week. I will see you guys for Week 9.